What is going on, guys? Just a quick reminder to follow all the Monsters and Memories guys, the team over on their personal Twitch accounts, but also their collective official Monsters and Memories YouTube channel. They stream themselves working on all of their personal Twitch accounts, and then they will later upload those VODs to their official Monsters and Memories YouTube channel. All the links are down in the description to all these channels. Also, Nick is coming out of hiatus. Hasn't really been streaming for the last 2 years, but he's going to start streaming again. He does a lot of the character development, so those should be interesting streams. As you can see here, they have over 900 videos on the channel for you to listen or watch at your leisure. Most of these are like 2 to 4 hour stream VODs with tons of nuggets of information like we'll share with you here today. But I suggest you watching them live if you have the chance, because you can have a back and forth with them and you can chat with them while you watch them work, and that's truly an awesome experience. It's kind of funny, I was working on this video already, and in this video Shawn touches on some kind of hot topics that have been coming up in the comments of my last few videos, and people expressing their concerns that is Monsters and Memories too niche to succeed. This is in their opinions, this is their questioning of it, and Shawn kind of touches on why they're choosing not to go on Steam or a platform like Steam, and their vision for early access. And I think it kind of connects a little bit, kind of explains their vision and where they're coming from. Let's take a listen.
Do we have any plans to go to Steam at any point? We have no plans to go to Steam in the foreseeable future. A lot of the smaller games that I've worked on in the past, I've worked at one company that had a bunch of smaller games, Big Point, and I worked at the last company that had by small game, I mean their numbers are actually pretty freaking like good for MMOs that are a niche MMO. But like one of the things that we kind of look at is like, all right, how much can we get, like, build up a core audience going into early access, roll into early access, use our own launchers and patchers, use our own payment system, etc. Keep all of that, cash ourselves, don't give the platform a cut. But the other thing that it is you guys, this may sound counterintuitive, and who knows, maybe if you're a business major out there, you may find that this is a bullshit way of doing it. But one thing that Steam does well, one thing that, like, being, you know, if we were to be put on Steam or Jagex's, launcher or something, or like work with somebody like that, or Amazon or whatever, is the thing that they do really well is get you a ton of eyeballs. The problem that we have is we're a small indie team that is putting out our early access at a time where we would love for it to be a bigger game with more content and more polish, but we're entering into our early access phase when we think we need to, just because we're just kind of at that point where we're like, hey, we think we've got enough to make a compelling value proposition to you guys as players, and we think we have enough to keep you for a while, and we would like to see if we could get some money coming in and start giving some cash to some of our guys and just try to get the ball rolling there, because at some point we've got to increase our capacity, and that's going to mean paying some of our guys full time and outsourcing some of the work. We have to increase our capacity to hit the scale that we want to hit. That's our plan. That's our business, sort of our business plan incorporates that approach. If we go, hey, everybody in the universe, check out our game at that stage, it's not the right time. Then it's like, oh, this game's not finished, or this game's, got this bug, or this game's, it's like, yeah, this is like a legit early access, guys. This isn't like early access is bullshit marketing. It's a legit early access kind of thing. So we figured The other companies, for as much as the people in Discord and Reddit and stuff like that, like, are all very experienced executive producers and like chief product officers at other companies, I'm sure. Like the thing that we're looking at is, all right, timing wise, we know. Sorry, not timing wise. Like, the thing we're looking at is, all right, a company like Star Stable Entertainment is able to go direct to the customers, direct to the players, have their own launcher, have, installer launcher, payment system, blah, 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 and establish a pretty good business, right? Other companies, and that was just the first example in my mind. It's the last company I was at. Other companies are capable of going direct to the player base, handling payments, handling, distribution, getting the game out there, and are able to grow. It's not an impossibility. This is not a thing that's never been done before, right? Like going all the way back to SOE or, like Origin and UL and stuff, though they may have been, were they owned by EA by then? I don't know. But anyways, you know what I'm saying? Like, I think you generally get the point. So what we're saying is we go out there first. Now, if we hit a point where we're like, hey, we think the need is that we need to just reach more eyeballs with our niche game. The thing is, we know we're a niche game. Why get a bunch of eyeballs only to get shit reviews and like have people tell you like, this game sucks, because they came into it just wanting an MMO, just wanting a fantasy game, and they know nothing about what we're trying to accomplish. Like, if we hit a point where we feel like we need more people just to pile in there, which is what I've seen at other companies, once they kind of feel like they've saturated their core, then they'll be like, yeah, let's see if we can start to pull other people in, like get more exposure, get more, higher degree of discovery or whatever. Does that make sense?
Does that make sense to you? I'm totally on board with the way he explains their vision here. Do I understand, some of the downsides of not being on a platform such as Steam? Of course I do. The main one being eyeballs, right? Lots of eyes on Steam especially. I have, and I'm pretty sure many of you have, played games that have fallen the victim to some of the examples that he used here. And personally, I'm not a fan of the model of charging for the game, the box price, but then not having a subscription. And maybe this is controversial, I don't know. But what happens in my experience with these games is, they get a lot of money, the game developers, they get a lot of money up front with the box price, but then they don't have any more money coming in after that. Trickling here or there, people come in here or there, but they get that initial surge, and then it's a couple trickles of box prices. And then you start relying on other means of income. You start doing like microtransactions and stuff. And I'm sure, the target audience for this game, that's a big no-no. Microtransactions are a big no-no. Whereas if you don't charge for the initial game and you got people on a subscription, you don't get that giant surge initially. You do get a surge, but you don't get this giant surge. You probably get a third or a fourth of the surge value, but you're getting that reoccurring monthly value. And I mean, let's face it, how many of you out there, still have like a WoW sub and you don't play WoW, or still have maybe EverQuest, or what is it, Sony All Access or something, or it doesn't even have to be game related. I mean, you might have Netflix and you don't even watch Netflix or something like this, right? There's probably a lot of people out there, and they're not trying to be predatory like that. But that's just a real thing. And this could be a good thing for the consumer, because with a box price, you're paying $40, $60, nowadays $70. Whereas with a free game, and then you're paying for a monthly sub, you're only really risking $15. You get in the game, you try it out. If you don't like it, you cancel your sub, and you lost, $15 instead of $60. I have witnessed in the recent days, last few years, a couple of games that charged for the game itself, but then had no sub fee, that were, MMO types, and just watched them crash and burn, which was unfortunate. Games that I played. And so, I'm just not a big fan about that. But Shawn actually speaks out about a couple of these games that I had in mind in this next clip. Let's listen.
I'll be honest. We may even be better off. We may be better off like even having a fraction of the people that tried out Pantheon and maybe even like Pantheon, right? They sold 100,000 plus early access units, right, at $40. Like we don't need all of that day one. We're better off with like a hardened sort of base who know what they're getting into. They've been in the playtest coming in, and instead of looking like, and I can show you the curves, instead of looking like almost every other big like boom splash and then that just steep curve over a month and a half, and then the long tail, and then trying to grow that again, because everybody's going to point to that and go, oh look, they had 900, like if you look at New World, they had 900,000 concurrent, and now they're like rocking it at whatever it is. I can bring it up in a second, right? But it's we're better off being like we're better off being more like, I think if you look at, I've got these actually, if you look at I think Foxhole, if you look at, and again, I didn't do enough digging on these specific examples to be like, you know, 100% are they using other patchers and all this other stuff. But if you look at something like a, you know, even Final Fantasy 14 on Steam, it starts low and builds its way up, even with its peaks and dips. If you look at like a Maple Story on Steam, right? Like, you know, and again, I know these guys have their own sort of launchers and stuff like that. If you look at like a, Foxhole, oops, there's my little option to pop it out. Right, just and this is the way that like Star Stable grew, but without being on Steam, so we don't have their data. It's the way that like Star Stable grew linearly for 10 years. Like it was still growing while I was there. Voxel Albion, I think, is another one that's kind of showed a similar thing, at least if you look on Steam, right? And so you can see these like slow growth. Oh, EVE Online was like this back in the day. EQ was like that for a long time, right? And you know, but that's different than even like big success stories. Like if you look at a Valheim, right? That's over the course of like, you know, a month or two. And now that's not to say there's nothing to sneeze at. They find their sort of base, like their floor, and they run it. If you look at like PAX Day, early access, New World was kind of like the great example back in the day, right? Like boom, 900,000. Right. So I know you can probably shoot holes in some of these examples, and maybe they're not the right examples using Steam numbers or whatever.
So what Shawn is expressing here is that they would like to start out slow with the target audience, the people, you know, who have been following the game, playing the alpha tests, that have, you know, been anticipating the game for the last few years, and then they can start, you know, kind of growing organically from there. They could start bringing in, you know, start going from word of mouth, bringing in the friends and family. This will allow them to start bringing money in and, you know, having slow and steady growth. And then with the money, this will unlock them to be able to, you know, start paying some of the team members, something that they haven't done yet. You know, it's been all volunteer work. And then, you know, maybe they can bring some of those members on full time. And then they can also take that money and reinvest it into the game. What do you all think about how he explains their vision for this? Do you take it like I take it? Do you have a different look at it? In this next clip, Shawn speaks about the release of patches and modules after early access releases.
90% of players quit within the first 3 months of MMO. Expect these niche styles like M&M Pantheon to have more retention at launch. Yeah, I really think it's just going to be it's going to come down to like whether or not we can, you know, keep you believing that the world's getting bigger and more cool shit's happening, and you like what you're playing. Like at the end of the day, if you get in, you don't enjoy it, you're not going to enjoy it. So we'll have to look at that as well. Now, Sna said, I like your idea of modules. Instead of drip feeding stuff, it gives you a good reason to check back in for a big patch or module releases. Yeah, that's I mean, it's one of the benefits of expansions on MMOs is you got to understand, like, most of your weekly updates or your bi-weekly or your monthly updates aren't going to get a mention in, games journalism, right? Like, there's not going to be probably not going to be like a whatever massively OP or, like whatever article referencing it. But if you've got a bigger update, then you get some free sort of like PR/hype that may lead to reactivation, etc. We're doing it just because it's fucking fun. It's cool. Like, how cool are modules? D&D modules are so awesome, right? Like, so it's fun to be able to like group some stuff together and have it like be a cool theme, and it's exciting for us, not just like, not just kind of like in the reactivation or retention business sort of a side of things. It's a fun thing to hopefully be able to do. We've talked about, even if we're forced to have more servers than we'd like to online initially to make up for the fact that we've got a limited amount of content at the moment for you to go into, like Night Harbor and Fail and Draw and stuff like that. I think it would be smart if we felt we had to handle that with server scale, to just straight out of the gate go, hey guys, we're gonna have 5 servers instead of 3, or we're gonna have 6 servers instead of 4 or 5. And then what we'll do is, even as we say that, we say, and then in 2 months we're going to collapse these 2 and these 2. We'll bracket them straight out of the gate, so that we already built up the expectation that they're going to come together, because we're telling you why we're doing it. I think that's the other thing, is maybe we'll find that this doesn't work in business or games, but like the idea of just being straightforward with why we're doing shit instead of like trying to sneak around, like the idea of just kind of going, the reason why there's 7 servers instead of 3 or 5 is because we have Night Harbor and Evershade at the moment. But as soon as we launch M1, then we'll have Aelvaroth and we'll have the Underdocks, and right, like we'll have additional starting areas which each can handle hundreds and hundreds of people. So even within 3 months after the game coming out, if we hit our date, all of a sudden we've got more starting areas, which is more content, which is less strain at peak for new people coming in. So we'll want to collapse those servers because we want it to be as social as possible, right?
All right, some good closing thoughts there by Shawn. There was one last comment that I don't have here in front of you, even though there's a comment in front of you. I don't have it. I thought it was on this video that this clip came from, but turns out it wasn't. But I did read a comment somewhere on one of these 900 videos on their YouTube page where somebody was worried about them, this last comment that Shawn said, worried about them coming out, with too many servers, with the intent of being like, it's fine, it's just for launch, and then we're going to condense the servers, once everything settles down or whatever, because there is the issue of player names. There is the issue of, feeling just home on your server, in part with your server, guild names, guild merges, all these kind of things that happen when you merge servers. So what are some ways that they can avoid that? If they do want to go this route where they're planning on coming out with, say 20 servers, but we really only plan on having 10 after the dust settles or something like that. I think what they could do is they need to pair up some of these servers. But see, this is hard because you can't predict the future really. But you need to group up some of these servers, and they have to be able to share a name database, share a guild name database and all this stuff. So when you merge these 2 servers, not, half it's like a Thanos snap, half of the people have to rename their characters. Guilds, there's going to be duplicate. Everybody has Death and Taxes is like a popular guild name. There's going to be one on both. They merge it, and then suddenly one of the guilds has to change their name, and then who gets the option? It's kind of a mess, really. So that's definitely, I feel that guy that was in that comment that I can't find. I would like to credit the guy, but that's definitely an issue. How do you think they can solve this, or do you not agree with that approach at all, and you have a better idea? Put that down in the comments. One last thing I did want to just throw on to the end of this video was in my last video, we were talking about the comprehensive stats and everything that came out after the last alpha, the July alpha. And in that one, I had pointed out 2 stats that were in previous comprehensive stat breakdowns that were missing from this one, 2 that I was looking forward to. And Swanee, another team member, had just happened to be watching the video, saw that I was sad that I was missing those, and took it upon himself to instantly hotfix it and put them in there. So let's just take a look at those since we got that now. So the first one that I was curious about, that I was missing, was the top 10 wealthiest players. And so we got it. Thank you so much, by the way, for adding these. It's super cool of you. Definitely didn't have to do it, but you went out of your way. I know you guys are so busy. I just want to express that. I know you guys are so incredibly busy, so I really do appreciate it. And I think a lot of people do appreciate it. But the top 10 wealthiest players on, we start with Haradrill, the PvP server. Someone does have 4.5 platinum on a PvP server. Pretty good. Now we go down to Krivia, my server, the smaller of the 2 PvE servers. And somebody has dang near 9 platinum. Really good there. And then Rel, the big boy server. We got Garrick with over 12 platinum, the richest guy in the open alpha, you could say. But one thing we were curious about was Sauce was the #1 highest level character in the open alpha at level 40, tied with, I think, his duo partner, I'm assuming, but probably edging him in XP, taking that top slot. And sure enough, he doesn't have the most money, but he has close to it. And, he's leveling, so he probably doesn't have time for trade skills. So if somebody sacrifices time for some trade skills, they might be able to make money there. But Sauce did come in with over 11 platinum, probably just making that raw money off of grinding his way up there. So really cool to see. The second one was the top trade skill players I was really interested in, just to see where they're at. So again, with the PvP server, you can see here, somebody got fishing up to 158, jewel crafting at 170. That's impressive. Mining at 196. That's the highest, but also likely the easiest. Enchanting at 105. Interesting. I know nothing about that. Blacksmithing at 144. Blacksmithing is something that I've been doing. 144 seems pretty dang high. Pretty dang high. Smelting naturally. Okay. Now what's crazy is that's the PvP server. So let's take a look at the PvE servers. We'll take a look at mine, the smaller of the 2. Fishing at 204. Of course, these numbers are going to be larger because you have the freedom to, to do whatever you want without being harassed. But let's see here. Jewel crafting 195. Leatherworking at 100. Mining at over 200. Smelting, of course. And just like I assumed, we got ZZZ coming in with tailoring at 100. He's the top dog tailor on the server. So the shout out was worth it. Once again, whatever you need, best prices on the server. I dealt with him a lot. Also, he's got his tanning at 25, which happens to be the highest, apparently. Other interesting stuff here. Farming at 5. I'm wondering do you just, go to the trainer and you just click, you use your stats and money and you just buy it up to 5 and get your name on the board, perhaps. Let's take a look at Rel, the big dog server. Looks like they're slacking a little bit compared to our server. Our server is taking trade skills a little more seriously, or no, maybe not. We're about equal, though, for them being a larger server with more players. I think we're holding our own over on Krivia. Very similar numbers, though, I will say. Yeah. Tailoring at 111, so they edge us out there. Very similar numbers, though. A lot of these trade skills need to, still need some work and need to be fully finished. Blacksmithing 169 here, whereas our blacksmithing up here, 162. The craziness is the blacksmithing up here at 144 on a PvP server He must be just going deep into zones, trying to avoid players, you know what I'm saying? Anyways, I wanted to check these out. Thanks a ton for adding those. We'll end it there. What do you guys think about the clips with Shawn? Let me know down in the comments. There was a lot to go over there. Hopefully, he was able to shed some light with what the team's thinking, what their vision is going into this. This one ran a little long because I like to blab, and I don't know how to stop talking. Anyways, I will see you in the next video.